Hey folks, first off, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from. City, state, country, whatever. Your support keeps these stories alive. Now, let's get into it. This ain't some campfire ghost story. This is real. Or at least, it felt real. My name doesn't matter. What does matter is that I'm a farmer, a third-generation dirt and sweat farmer in rural Nebraska. Cornfields, cattle, a rusty old tractor that's older than my dad. Quiet life. Or it was, until yesterday. Let me take you back. Dawn. October 12th. Frost still clinging to the pumpkin patches. I was out by the south field checking the irrigation lines. The kind of morning where the sky's so clear you could count the crows. But something felt off. The birds weren't singing. The cattle were huddled in the far corner of the pasture, lowing like they'd seen the devil. I shrugged it off. Maybe a coyote had spooked them. By noon, the radio in my truck started crackling. Emergency alerts. Unidentified viral outbreak. Stay indoors, I laughed. We don't get outbreaks here. Just rot blight and the occasional meth head wandering out of the woods. But then I saw her. Mrs. Henderson, our neighbor. Half a mile down the gravel road. Except she wasn't Mrs. Henderson anymore. She was stumbling through my soybean field, dress torn, one arm hanging by a thread of tendon. Her jaw. God, her jaw. It was unhinged, like a snake's. And her eyes, milky, bleeding at the corners. She let out this gurgling scream. Not human. Not alive. I froze. Then she charged. Faster than anything that Broken should have moved. I bolted for the barn. My boots kicked up mud as her nails grazed my jacket. I slammed the door, threw the bolt, and grabbed my granddad's shotgun off the wall. The thing that used to be Mrs. Henderson threw itself against the wood, snarling. I fired through the gaps. The blast took off half her face. She didn't stop. That's when I knew. This wasn't rabies. This was hell on earth. I called my wife, no answer. Texted my boys at school. Nothing. The radio died. Electricity flickered out. And then I heard the screams. Distant but getting closer. From town. From the fields. From everywhere. I armored up. Denim, leather gloves, a machete I used for clearing brush. Peeked out the barn window. Dozens of them now. Shambling through the corn. Some missing limbs. Others, fresh. Like the feed store clerk, Dave, his gut ripped open, dragging his own intestines behind him like a leash. I had to get to the house, to my family. But between me and that farmhouse were 200 yards of open field, and them. So I did what any desperate man would do. I opened the cattle gates. 20 head of panicked Angus stampeded into the fray. Bones crunched. Zombies went down under hooves. I ran, zigzagging through the chaos, swinging the machete at anything that lunged. Felt a hand grab my ankle, hacked it off. Felt teeth snap near my ear, shotgun butt to the temple. Made it to the porch, and froze. The front door was wide open. Smears of blood on the frame. Inside, the kitchen was trashed. Flour sacks shredded. My wife's favorite mug shattered. And then, a whimper. From the root cellar. I yanked open the hatch. My wife and boys were huddled there, alive. Thank God. But we weren't safe yet. The horde was closing in. Windows shattered, fingernails clawed at the walls. I herded my family into the storm shelter under the barn, the one my granddad built during the Cold War. Thick steel door, ventilation shafts, and the tunnels. See, this land's got history. Bootleggers during Prohibition dug a network of passages under the fields. Most are collapsed, but a few still connect the barn to the old smokehouse and the creek. We crawled, flashlights in hand, the sounds of the dead echoing above like thunder. But here's the kicker. Down there in the dark, I found something. Crates, dozens of them, marked BioGro experimental fertilizer. The same stuff the county co-op had been pushing all season. Guaranteed to double yields. They'd handed it out for free, and I'd spread it on every acre. The dates on the crates? Classified. Hazard symbols even I didn't recognize. And then I remembered the cattle that died last month. The ones that acted rabid before we put them down. The co-op said it was bad feed. But what if it wasn't? What if I'd poisoned my own land? The storm shelter door clanged shut behind us, sealing my family in a tomb of shadows and cold concrete. My youngest boy's flashlight trembled in his grip, the beam darting over the crate stamped with BioGro's logo, that grinning ear of corn I'd once trusted like a neighbor. My wife pressed a hand to her mouth, muffling a sob. "You used this stuff?" she whispered. "On the fields? On the food?" I didn't answer. Couldn't. Guilt clamped my throat shut. Those crates weren't just fertilizer. They were a confession. But the dead didn't care about guilt. Above us, the horde howled. Fingernails scraped the barn floorboards like knives on bone. My oldest boy, barely 13, clutched his little brother. "Dad, what do we do?" "We move," I said, "through the tunnels to the creek." The bootlegger passages were tight, damp, and stinking of wet earth. Cobwebs clung to our faces as we crawled. My wife led the boys, their sneakers kicking up dirt, while I dragged the shotgun behind me, barrel first, finger on the trigger. Every few feet, the muffled screams above reminded me how thin the line was between us and them. Then the screaming stopped. Silence. "They're gone?" my wife breathed. A wet, gurgling roar split the air. Then the thud, like a sledgehammer on a coffin lid. Again. Again. They were tearing up the barn floor. "Run!" I barked. We scrambled forward on hands and knees, the flashlight beams bouncing wildly. Behind us, wood splintered. A decayed arm punched through the tunnel ceiling, dirt raining down as clawed fingers grabbed at my boot. I kicked free, but another hand burst through, then another. They were digging. Learning. The tunnel opened into a wider chamber, an old storage room from the bootlegging days. Rotting whiskey barrels, rusted tools, and a door, thick oak banded with iron. I slammed it shut just as the first zombie dropped into the chamber behind us. Its face was a mass of pulsing black veins, eyes glowing faintly green. "BioGro's doing." "Barricade it!" I yelled. We shoved barrels, splintered planks, anything heavy against the door. The thing on the other side threw itself forward, snarling. The wood groaned. My wife aimed her flashlight at the far wall. "There's another tunnel! Go, go, go!" We fled deeper, the barricade crumbling behind us. But the dead weren't the only threat down there. The next tunnel reeked of chemicals. My boots sank into a puddle of sticky fluid. I shone my light down. A glossy black sludge oozed from the walls. BioGro's symbol was spray-painted on a rusted pipe. "Property of BioGro AG, do not touch." "Don't breathe it in," I warned, tying my bandana over my mouth. But it was too late for my youngest. He gagged, clutching his throat. "My chest burns." Panic surged. I scooped him up, his small body trembling. "Stay with me, buddy, stay awake." The tunnel curved upward, fresh air, moonlight. We spilled out into the creek bed half a mile from the house. The night was alive with shrieks, but for now we were alone. "We need to get to the smokehouse," I said. "There's a radio there, maybe we can call for help." A guttural growl cut me off. From the tree line, a pack of coyotes emerged, or what was left of them. Their fur sloughed off in patches, ribs jutting through rotting flesh. One's jaw hung sideways, dripping black saliva. They'd been eating the dead, or the fertilizer. They charged. I fired the shotgun. The blast tore through the lead coyote, but it kept running, a gaping hole in its side. My wife swung a rusted shovel, caving in another skull. My oldest boy stabbed with a pocket knife, screaming. The youngest huddled behind me, sobbing. We fought like animals. When it was over, the creek ran thick with blood and bile, but the noise drew bigger predators. Human ones. A figure lurched from the trees. Tall, muscular, wearing a shredded BioGro lab coat. His face was intact, but his skin writhed beneath the surface as if worms burrowed in his veins. He moved faster than the others, smarter. When I shot him, he ducked. "You," he rasped, voice bubbling like tar. "You spread it." My blood went cold. "You're not one of them." He grinned, teeth black. "We tried to stop it. The fertilizer, it's in the soil. The water." He convulsed, clawing at his own chest. "Run. Before they harvest." His head exploded, literally. A geyser of black fluid erupted from his mouth and he collapsed. The sludge wriggled toward us, alive. We ran. The smokehouse was a charred ruin. No radio, no hope. But in the ashes I found a map, marked with BioGro test sites. Our farm, the co-op, the creek, and a facility. 5 miles north, underground. "They knew," I whispered. "They knew this would happen." My wife stared at the map. "What's at this facility?" A scream answered her, not from the undead. Human. Across the field, a BioGro truck sped toward us, headlights off. In the back, a cage rattled with survivors. Townsfolk, bloody and screaming. The driver wore a gas mask. Alive. Working for them. "Get down!" I shoved my family into the mud as the truck roared past toward the facility, toward answers, but we weren't alone. The horde had found us again. Hundreds now, silhouetted by moonlight, their groans shaking the earth, and leading them. The thing that used to be Dave, the feed store clerk. His intestines slithered behind him like tentacles, lashing the air. We were trapped. The truck was gone. The facility was a death march away, and the shotgun had one shell left. Then I remembered the propane tanks, the grain silo. I yelled, "Go!" We sprinted, the dead closing in. Dave's guts lashed my arm, ripping leather. I slammed the silo door open, shoved my family inside, and turned. The horde was a tidal wave of rot. I hurled the shotgun. It clanged off the nearest propane tank parked by the barn. A spark from the barrel ignited the fumes. The explosion lit the night like hellfire. Zombies burned. So did the barn. So did the last 30 years of my life. But we were alive. For now. The firestorm from the silo lit the sky for miles, painting the dead in flickering shades of orange and black. We crouched in the scorched remains of the barn, watching the horde burn. Their shrieks weren't pain. They didn't feel pain. It was rage. like we'd insulted them by surviving. My youngest boy clung to my leg, his breathing still ragged from the tunnel sludge. "Dad." "My skin itches," he whispered. I pulled up his sleeve. Black veins spiderwebbed up his forearm. BioGro's poison. But I didn't tell him that. I didn't tell any of them. "We need to move," I said, "into the facility now." The map showed the BioGro site buried in the woods north of the creek. 5 miles. On foot. At night. With a horde that could smell fear like blood and water. We armed ourselves with whatever hadn't burned. A pitchfork, a busted cattle prod, and the pocket knife my oldest boy refused to let go of. My wife carried our youngest, his head lolling against her shoulder. "He's getting weaker," she said, voice trembling. "We need medicine." "They'll have answers at that facility," I lied. I didn't know what they'd have, but it was the only lie I had left. We stuck to the tree line, avoiding the roads. The moon was ablaze overhead. Every shadow seemed to twitch. Every rustle of leaves sounded like footsteps. Then we heard the chopping. A BioGro helicopter circled ahead, searchlight carving through the dark. It wasn't law enforcement, no markings, just the grinning corn logo on the tail. The spotlight froze on us. "Run!" I shouted. We dove into the cornfield, stalks whipping our faces. The helicopter descended, blades thrashing the air. A voice boomed from a loudspeaker. "Cease movement and you will not be harmed." Bullshit. We kept running. A net fired from the chopper, weighted with hooks. It missed me by inches, snagging my wife's ankle. She fell, our youngest tumbling from her arms. "Go!" she screamed. "Take them and go!" I sliced the net with the pitchfork, my hands bleeding from the barbs. The helicopter hovered lower, doors opening. Men in gas masks rappelled down, rifles strapped to their backs. Not zombies. Worse. "Grab the kids!" one shouted. "The boss wants them alive!" I swung the pitchfork like a scythe, tore a mask off one man's face. He wasn't human, not anymore. His skin was gray, eyes pupilless and glowing. A hybrid. Alive but infected. Working for BioGro. My oldest boy stabbed another in the thigh with his pocket knife. The man roared, backhanding him into the dirt. Rage burned through me. I tackled the hybrid, driving the pitchfork into his chest. Black ooze bubbled from his mouth. "You're too late," he gurgled. "The harvest has already begun." The helicopter's spotlight blinded me. A rifle butt cracked against my skull. I went down hard, tasting blood. My wife's screams, my boys crying, then a gunshot. Not from the hybrids, from the woods. A woman emerged, silhouetted by muzzle flashes. She moved like a soldier, picking off BioGro's men with a hunting rifle. "This way!" she barked. "Now!" We didn't hesitate. We ran toward her, the helicopter veering off as its fuel line sparked from her shots. She led us into a gully, then down into a storm drain. "Keep moving," she snapped. "They'll send drones next." The drain emptied into an abandoned mine shaft, fortified with sandbags and wire. A rebel hideout. Maps of BioGro facilities papered the walls. Body bags stacked in the corner. Test subjects. The woman shoved a canteen into my hands. "Drink, it's clean." Up close, she was maybe 40, her face scarred, eyes sharp. A name tag on her ripped jacket read, Dr. R. Cole. "You're one of them," I said, backing away. "BioGro." "Was," she said. "I worked in their lab, developed the fertilizer. Then I saw what it did to the livestock. To the people." She nodded to my youngest, now shivering on a cot. "The sludge he touched? It's a synthetic pathogen. BioGro called it Prometheus. Rewrites DNA, turns living things into... well, you've seen. My wife lunged at her. "You did this! You killed us!" Dr. Cole didn't flinch. "I tried to burn the data. They framed me, disappeared me. Now I burn their facilities." She tossed me a grenade. "Help me burn this one." I stared at the grenade. "Why should I trust you?" She peeled back her sleeve. Black veins pulsed up to her elbow. "Because I'm dying. And your boy's got hours unless we get the antidote." "Antidote?" I whispered. "In the facility's lab. But it's guarded. By things worse than the dead." The ground above us rumbled. Dirt sifted through the ceiling. Dr. Cole cursed. "They're drilling. BioGro's digging us out." My oldest boy tugged my arm. "Dad, look." On a monitor hooked to a car battery, live security footage played. The BioGro facility's courtyard. Hundreds of survivors in cages. Some infected, some not. Trucks dumped barrels of Prometheus sludge into a massive irrigation system. And in the center of it all, a pit. Something climbed out of it. A creature, 10 feet tall. A grotesque mash of human and animal parts stitched together with black tendrils. Its head was a deer skull, antlers fused with rusted metal. Its hands were tractor's blades. "The Harvest King," Dr. Cole said. "Their first successful hybrid. They're using it to round up survivors for testing." The screen cut to static. "We can't fight that," my wife said, voice breaking. Dr. Cole loaded her rifle. "We don't have to. We blow the lab, the sludge stores, and that thing dies with the rest." She looked at me. "But your boy? He needs a dose of the antidote first. It's your call." My youngest coughed, black spit staining his shirt. I picked up the grenade. The grenade felt heavier than sin in my hand. Dr. Cole strapped a vest of C4 to her chest, her fingers steady despite the black veins creeping up her neck. "Antidote's in the lab, 3rd floor," she said. "But the second we trigger the alarms, the Harvest King comes running. You'll have 10 minutes, tops." My youngest boy's breathing had turned to wet, ragged gasps. His eyes were glassy, pupils swallowed by black. 10 minutes. I kissed his forehead. "Stay with your mom. I'll be back." My wife grabbed my arm. "If you're not..." "I'll be back," I said confidently. We moved under cover of a moonless sky. The BioGro facility loomed ahead, a concrete monolith sunk into the earth, surrounded by razor wire and guard towers. No lights, no sound, just the faint hum of generators and the stench of rot. Dr. Cole disabled the outer fence with a pair of bolt cutters. "They recycle the dead," she whispered. "Grind them into fertilizer. The cycle never stops." She pointed to a ventilation shaft. "Through there, lab straight ahead." The shaft was slick with black sludge. We crawled, the metal groaning under our weight. Below us, the facility buzzed with horrors. Labs lit by green UV lights, where surgeons in gas masks grafted animal limbs onto twitching human torsos. Rooms stacked with cages, survivors injected with Prometheus, their bodies contorting into shapes I cannot describe. And the pit, the Harvest King's lair, where bones and tractor parts floated in a vat of bubbling sludge. Dr. Cole froze. "They're accelerating the harvest. They know we're here." We dropped into a hallway. The lab door was sealed, keypad glowing red. Dr. Cole typed a code. "Access denied," she cursed. "They changed it. We need a biometric scan." Footsteps echoed. 2 guards rounded the corner. Hybrids, half human, half machine, their eyes replaced with flickering camera lenses. Dr. Cole snapped the first one's neck with a wire garrote. I jammed my pitchfork into the second's chest, pinning it to the wall. Its camera eye swiveled, streaming footage to a monitor above us. On the screen, my wife and boys huddled in the storm drain. BioGro trucks surrounded the entrance. "They're flanking your family," Dr. Cole said. "Hurry!" She pressed the dying guard's thumb to the keypad. The lab door hissed open. Inside, rows of refrigerated vials glowed blue. Antidote. I grabbed a vial. Dr. Cole shoved 5 more into my pack. "He'll need a dose every hour. It's not a cure, just a pause button." "What aren't you telling me?" She unzipped her vest, revealing a massive C4 and a detonator. "The lab's not the target, that is." She pointed through the window to a silo below, oozing Prometheus sludge. "Blow that, and the chain reaction takes out the whole facility. But it has to be done here, manually. Someone stays behind." A roar shook the building. The Harvest King. It was here. "Go!" Dr. Cole tossed me a key card. "Take the service elevator. Get your family to the river. I'll hold it off." "You can't kill that thing alone," she smiled, blood trickling from her nose. "I'm not alone. I've got enough explosives to turn it into scrap." The Harvest King's shadow filled the hallway. Deer skull, tractor blade hands. It swung, shearing through steel like paper. Dr. Cole charged, C4 vest blinking. "Run, you stubborn bastard! Run!" I ran. The service elevator plummeted to the lowest level. The doors opened to chaos. BioGro hybrids herding survivors into trucks. My wife and boys were trapped in a cage, my youngest limp in her arms. I dosed him with the antidote. His eyes flickered, still black, but aware. "The river!" I shouted, jabbing the keycard into the truck's ignition. The engine roared. I slammed the gas, plowing through the facility gates. Behind us, the Harvest King's screams merged with the thud of detonations. Dr. Cole's last stand. The truck careened into the woods. BioGro's hybrids gave chase on motorcycles, headlights slicing through the trees. My oldest boy leaned out the window, firing Dr. Cole's rifle. He hit a fuel tank. The explosion lit the forest. We reached the river. Abandoned canoes dotted the bank. "Get in!" I yelled. Shots rang out. A bullet grazed my shoulder. My wife paddled furiously. The boys hunched low. I turned to face the hybrids. But the river saved us. The current surged, sweeping the canoe into rapids. BioGro's bullets fell short. The facility burned in the distance, a pillar of black smoke choking the stars. My youngest boy stirred, coughing up black sludge. The antidote was working. For now. But as the river carried us away, I noticed the first sign. His veins weren't just black anymore. They were green. The river carried us for miles, the water itself hissing as if alive. My youngest boy thrashed in my arms, his veins glowing toxic green under his skin. The antidote had stalled the black sludge, but this was new. BioGro's last laugh. We washed ashore near a derelict ranger station, its walls plastered with quarantine warnings. Inside, we found a radio. Static. Then a voice. "Survivors, rally at the Evansville Dam. Safe zone." "It's a trap," my wife said. "It's always a trap." But my boy was burning up, his breath shallow. We didn't have a choice. We followed the riverbank, avoiding the water. Too late, I noticed the fish. Their scales sloughed off, exposing pulsating flesh. Their eyes, human. One leapt from the shallows, needle teeth sinking into my boot. I stomped it, guts squirming like maggots. "The sludge is in the ecosystem," I muttered. "It's evolving." By dawn, the dam loomed. No soldiers, no survivors, just a BioGro flag flapping over the control room, and the bodies. Dozens, bloated and strung up on pikes, their green-veined skin split by thorny vines. Human ivy. Turn back, my oldest boy whispered. But the forest behind us rustled. Figures emerged, not zombies, not hybrids. Worse. Townsfriends, people we knew, the school principal, the postman. Their bodies were half consumed by flora, mushrooms sprouting from eye sockets, bark replacing skin, roots knotting their limbs into gnarled weapons. They lurched toward us, groaning like wind through dead trees. The Prometheus, it's merging them with the plants, my wife said, horrified. They're fertilizing the earth. We fled into the dam's control room, barricaded the doors. My youngest boy convulsed on the floor, green tendrils snaking from his pores. It's okay, he choked. I can feel them. The trees, the water. They're angry. A vine exploded through the window, seizing his ankle. It yanked him toward the river. I hacked at it with a fire axe, but the vines kept coming. A jungle of writhing rot. My wife screamed as thorns pierced her shoulder, dragging her out into the open. BioGro's final plague had turned the world into a garden of horrors. Then he arrived. A man in a pristine suit stepped from the tree line flanked by hybrid guards. The BioGro CEO. His face was smooth, unblemished, his eyes twin voids. You've made quite a mess, he said. But we'll replant. We always do. My youngest boy stood, green light bleeding from his eyes. You're the harvest king now, he hissed, his voice not his own. The earth trembled, roots erupted, impaling the hybrids. The CEO stumbled back, but my boy's vengeance wasn't human. It was ecological. Vines swallowed the CEO whole, crushing him into mulch. The forest itself turned on BioGro's remnants, trees snapping necks, flowers blooming in gunshot wounds. My boy collapsed, the green light fading. It's done, he whispered. But the dam groaned. The sludge had corroded the foundations. The walls cracked. The tunnels! I shouted. Back to the farm! We raced against the collapse, the river surging behind us. The old bootlegger tunnels saved us one last time, sealing shut as the dam burst. We emerged at sunrise, our farm a wasteland of ash and bone. My youngest boy didn't wake up. His veins were green, his skin cold, but he breathed. The antidote, the sludge, the vines, they're all inside him now. A hybrid of another kind. We buried Dr. Cole's grenade in the fields, detonating the last of BioGro's fertilizer. The blast shook the earth clean for now. But that night I caught my boy sleepwalking, standing in the scorched cornfield, hands buried in the soil. The dead stalks bloomed where he touched them. He's still my son, but he's theirs too. This farm's quiet again, but dig a foot under the soil and you'll find green roots, waiting, hungry. BioGro's gone, but the earth's got a taste for us now. If you're out there, if your neighbor's crops look a little too green, run. And hey, if you see a vine that moves like a snake, don't let it touch you.